Summary of it so far is as follows. This is the salient information we need to know. The Gemara Yerushalmi in Masechta Megillah says, it's quoted by the Rambam Halochos, that Nevi'im and Ksuvim, when Mashiach comes, will be Nizbatel. Whereas Halochos of Torah שבעל פה are never bottle, just like Chamisha Chumshei Torah are not bottle. So the Rebbe explained that therefore there's a Maila in the Rambam's Mishnah Torah over obviously the Nevi'im and Ksuvim because they are bottle, and the Halochos outlined in the Rambam are not. And certainly a mile of Mishnah Torah over the Shakel of Atari and the Gemara and many other dimensions and works of Torah שבעל פה, which will be obsolete when Mashiach comes, are all a means to an end to find the final halacha, which now we have, and that remains forever. What will remain is learning the deep secrets of Torah, as Rashi explains. And then he added a profound nuance that hence the Rambam concludes with the laws of Mashiach, not only for the obvious reason that then, first of all, he's got to cover all of the halachas. Mashiach's coming, how do we identify him? Who is he? It's a halacha, you have to know. In addition to that, when Mashiach comes, we're going to observe, as the Rambam says, all the mitzvahs. But on the deeper level, he concludes with that because the shleimus, the perfection of the eternity of halacha, which is what his whole work is about, will be then. It's the culmination, everything he's writing. The shleimus of and the eternity of all of they will endure forever. Everything we wrote till now will endure. When do you see its endurance, its eternity? Moishe Mashiach, because then Nevi'im and Ksuvim are no longer, and Shakel Vatari is no longer. So the extraordinary milah of the Rambam's Mishnah Torah. Now the whole subject matter here is to explain. The Rebbe, I did mention Rebbe also in another ha'orah that the famous medrash that the exiles, the Golius will not be gathered in only b'schus mishnayos. B'schus mishnayos, the connection is mishnayos is a gathering, a collection of all halacha, and so all the Golius, the exiles, the dispersed, will be gathered in b'schus mishnayos. The idea being, because the Mishnayos is the collection of all of the halacha. That was Bisman of Mishnayos. Where's the collection of all of halacha today? In Rambam, Mishnah Torah. So that's another connection to Moishe Mashiach. Because through studying the halachas, which is one of the reasons, I guess, for the campaign to study Rambam, unifying Jews, and also gathering in Jews, uniting them, which is one thing, in redemption, because that is the idea of learning the Mishnayos, the contemporary Mishnayos, Mishnah Torah, in one gathering it all together, which brings about the gathering of the Jewish people. Okay, so now is Beis. V'yesh levayed, yeah, but he has the page 28. V'yesh levayed inyan nitzchis. The halachas atayda lased lavai. Now this whole thing is to explain the eternity of halachas forever. Friends, as a result of learning this, we will have a profoundly deeper understanding of Eibishter and Torah, mitzvahs, everything. Not just what's going to be then, but what is, of course, now. So to understand halachas she'inן bטלים, that the quote from the Rambam, that the halachas are forever, the locher tzarich lahav, we have to understand. Did we do this yesterday? No. You do, it's known. It's interesting. Where is it known? Ha'ara 18. It's Mikdash Melech, it's a Pirish on the Zohar, and brought to Halochos Torah. But it's become famous. It's a pretty obscure source, but it's become famous, and that is, Shaklal Sha'alocha Kebeis Hillel, that this will be said, Halochos is Beis Hillel. V'yad shebeisham b'mokim Beis Hillel eine Mishnah. The Gemara says that when there's a dispute between them, Beis Shammai's view is not considered eine Mishnah, it's not taught. That's how it's rejected. It's rejected outright in practical terms. we follow the ruling like Hillel. So it's known that is ein ela bisman hazeh, it's only nowadays. Bisman hazeh in the contemporary time. Hashenkin losid love, but when Mashiach comes, the halacha can be Shammai. The halacha will be like Beis Shammai. Now he adds in brackets, Commissioners Babi Makim Ached, like we explained elsewhere. This is another Kontras. Kontras Torah Chadashim Iti Teitze, Tavshin Nun Aleph, Tavshin Nun Aleph. There we explain, how could that be? Because Sheshini Halacha Yidei, the change will be Shebezdin Agadol Sheyasel Yerushalayim Yamdol Minyan, that the great Bezdin that will return to Yerushalayim will then vote, will discuss the halachas. V'das haroiv os tiyeh kedivrei Beis Shammai, and the majority then will reconsider the whole subject matter and paskin according to Beis Shammai. So that's going to be done in a Torah way that the Bezdin Hagadol, the great Bezdin, will convene and then consider the halachas will paskin like Beis Shammai. But the question is, v'apizeh yivatel lasid lo v'ikam halacha shater sheba'al peh. So here the Rambam is giving us all kinds of halachas. It's not forever. They're according to Hillel. Kol halachas nifsku b'Torah. What's going to be in this battle? All the halachas which were paskened, koil gam b'chiburi shel Rambam, including as they appear in the Rambam, kedas beis Hillel. Shalachas elu yivatlu. These halachas have been nullified. So the eternity of halacha, wait a second, not so. Beis Hillel is going to be replaced with Beis Shammai. Now, it isn't such a strong question. Why? Order 21. Ki, because he starts to say, he's going to ask another question. And the main question is coming. Why is the next question going to be the main question? The one we just asked is not such a powerful question. No, can you figure it out? When you get the Beis Hillel, the fact that we're changing then from Beis Hillel to Beis Shammai, yes, the Taras we can answer, and he adds in brackets, but to some degree forced. That's not considered being bevatel the halacha. The halacha remains. It's just which way you do it. The subject matter remains. The mitzvah remains. You're going to observe it this way or that way. So there's the halacha, two levels to the halacha. The inyan of the halacha and there's the peil of the halacha. The inyan of the halacha remains. So that's not such a big question. The subject matter is going to remain in Torah. That's not going to be deleted. That's not such a big question. But it'll still be answered much deeper. At the end of the Sikha. But the main question is coming. Are we clear? The main question is Yedua by the number 22. It's known. Okay, so at this point we have to learn the Gemara in Niddah, which I sent to you. It's a short passage because it's going to be based on this. The rest of the Sikha largely to explain this. Rabbi Yochanan, the student Rabbi Yochanan. So please go to the WhatsApp of Chassidus. There it is. You have it in front of you? Ton Rabbanon Niddah Samachalaf on the base. Bagged she'ovad by kiloi. So there was a bagged that a thread of kilayim got lost in it. It was either wool and a thread of linen got lost in it, or vice versa. Don't sell it even to a non-Jew because it might end up in Jewish hands. And don't even make it a saddle for a donkey because they used to, the Farshim explain, the saddles are made patchwork. And he's going to put it in his saddle, and then someone will remove it, add to their clothing. It still end up as a piece of clothing for someone. In the saddle, it's not an isser; it's wearing it, so it could end up as clothing. Whatever, there's different explanations, but that's the basic point. The Gemara continues, but you can make from this garment, which is now has wool and linen, shatnez, kiloyim, you can make shrouds for the dead. Omar Rabbi Yosef, this is a braisa. It's a braisa. Omar Rabbi Yosef is a semeres. We see from here mitzvahs batelis lasid lava, because he's going to get it by tchias hamesim, and he's getting up wearing what? Kilayim. Is a raya that there's no mitzvahs. Amalei Abaye said to Rabbi Yosef, V'teimer Rav Dimi, and some say Rav Dimi said to Rabbi Yosef, V'omar Rabbi Yochanan, so Omar Rabbi Yani, Omar Rabbi Mani, Omar Rabbi Yani. Rabbi Mani said him Rabbi Yani. Abaye is asking Rabbi Yosef as follows: Leishona ela lesofdai. When did we say that you can bury him in shroud? It's only for the eulogy. So he's lying in front of everybody. That's how it was. And no casket. Casket is a Western thing. Maybe it's European. But you didn't bury in shrouds. Was there? So for the hesper, they can be in kilayim. Avalakoivri osir. But to bury him not. So we have a statement. He says that when teaching the Braise, when the Braise says that you can make it lemes, it means only for what? For the hesper, but not for burial. So your conclusion that from here mitzvahs batelis lasid lavi, you have no such conclusion, because this was qualified as referring not to burial but to the actual funeral, the hesped. Asher al kain, you have no raya that mitzvahs batelis lasid lavi. He answered back, Omalei, so Abai said to Rabbi Yosef, or Rav Dimi said to him, Lavit ma'ala, Omar Rabbi Yochanan afilu l'kovi, wasn't it learned on this? Rabbi Yochanan, he holds. It's machlekes. So Rabbi Yochanan holds pshat in the Braise, when it says for the dead, it means even to bury. So you have two opinions. Yeah? Rav Dimi, the opinion is Rabbi Mani, name of Rabbi Yanai, who holds he can only eulogize him, and then Rabbi Yochanan, he says even to bury him. But Rabbi Yochanan is consistent with his position, who said, Rabbi Yochanan said, Ma'idich siba mesim chavshi. So David the Melech, the context there is that he's it doesn't mean he typed. Someone look up the pasuk. It's not the part of the pshat in the pasuk. Look up Peiches. If there's someone on the phone, he's like he's been abandoned by Hashem, like the dead in the field. But he uses the word chavshi, which means free. So Rabbi Yochanan teaches, given shemes adam, when a person dies, nasa chavshi min mitzvahs, he's free from mitzvahs. So Rabbi Yochanan, as opposed to Mani Amar Rabbi Yanai, he holds that there's tchias hamesim, no mitzvahs. Mitzvahs batelis lasid lavi, no mitzvahs. So we have, now the question, Yedua, so now we have a contradiction. Yedua, it's known, Shalakamed Deyes, Rabbi Yochanan and others, mitzvahs batelis lasid lavi, betchias hamesim, that when is it going to be no mitzvahs? We don't mean when Mashiach comes. That's for sure, Lachol Deyes right away. On the contrary, mitzvahs will be observed then perfectly, and all of them. When will they be bottled? B'tchias hamesim. When's tchias hamesim? Brackets b'tkufa hashniyah de Mashiach. That's the second epoch after Mashiach comes. Mashiach b'tkufa rishon de Mashiach. And the first epoch, lift the tchias hamesim, before tchias hamesim, shaz yekim ha-mitzvah b'tachlis hashleim, the mitzvahs will be done perfectly. So, let's continue the flow. Look at ours in a second. So let's look at the flow of things. So it's known that according to Kamed Deis, and this is Rabbi Yochanan, and also brought down by the Shem and Achreinim, that mitzvahs batelis lasid lavai shalachein. Therefore, so we just learned back at Shavad by Kilayim, a garment that Kilayim, a thread got lost in it. You can make tachichem for the dead. And Rabbi Yosef said, as we've just learned, mitzvahs batelis lasid lavai, that mitzvahs are nisbat lasid lavai. And then we explained that, as Rabbi Yochanan spelled it out, that it means even this. So we have two opinions: Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yochanan. Two opinions that say mitzvah b'telis lasid love. Lachatchila was just a question, and then it was clarified according to Rabbi Yochanan. In the first place, we can make shrouds out of kilayim afabish kishiyamid. He's quoting here from looks like Tosfos. You can make shrouds after kishiyamid lasid yamid b'mabushav. Even though when he gets up and the clothing is buried in. Shmamina, we see from me, explains Tosfos mitzvah b'telis lasid lovei. He's explaining Rabbi Yosef's conclusion, ratified by or agreed with by Rabbi Yochanan. So the question, so what do you have a contradiction? There will be in this battle lasid love in the second era of Yemais Mashiach, in italics, kol halochos shel Torah שבעל פה. All the halachos will be no longer the kivin mitzvahs b'telis. We direct quote according to this opinion at least, according to Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yochanan, and many days mitzvahs b'telis. So b'teim b'derech hamela kol halachos shein mishpatim mitzvahs eilu. So if there's mitzvahs b'telis, all the halachos therefore, which tell us how to do the mitzvahs, are all no longer. So we have a contradiction. Clear? Yeah, in Ha'orah 24. So he said that this opinion, Lakama Deis, that mitzvahs b'telis is the second epoch. Kloimer. Lifted Tchias HaMeisim the Kol B'nei Yisrael, before Tchias HaMeisim of all Yidden, which happens, there's different opinions, 40 years after Mashiach comes. That's at least one day, there's other days as well, but that's a commonly quoted source. Mash'enkin tzadikim shekomim l'tchiyah b'ascholis HaMeisim Mashiach. Tzadikim will get up right away, the Zohar says. So we're talking about Tchias HaMeisim when we mean for Kol B'nei Yisrael, which happens later, because tzaddikim get up right away. I just, by the way, I remember that Rabbi said, I don't recall when, but I heard it with my own ears, that he said that since the figure Rebbe was the Nasi Adoir, and tzaddikim get up right away, so the whole day is going to get up right away. Certainly this one, the Holocaust generation, this generation. I don't know if he said call. I think this generation, whatever. So, but now we're saying in Pashtus that Tchias HaMeisim for Bnei Yisrael B'chalal, with the exceptions of tzaddikim, will be in the second era, and then Kishiyah Kim HaMitzvahs B'tachlis Shem, the first era mitzvahs will be done perfectly. Kedisa b'Gemara, the Gemara says in the Yuma like this. The Gemara asks, Keitzad Malbishan La'asid Lavai. How is Aaron? How are the kohenim, that the shayla there is, who is dressed first in the inaugurating the kohenim? To be some kind of inauguration, Aaron or the kohenim? Aaron or the others? And the Gemara says, what's the whole question? The question is going to be, when Aaron and his sons come, the question is going to be the order then of who will put on the big day kiruna first. So it's very clear that it's going to be Kiyam HaMitzvahs by Tchias HaMeisim. Now it comes out that here, L'chayr is saying, because they're tzaddikim, they'll get up right away, so they're going to be in the first epoch, and therefore there'll be mitzvahs. But when will be mitzvahs b'telis lasid lavai? In the second epoch, later, but Tchias HaMeisim have all Klal Yisrael. But the first epoch, there'll be befedish mitzvahs.
I mean, nobody ever said not. So everybody agrees with that. Nobody ever said not.
Mitzvah, just quoted. Mitzvahs b'telis lasid lavai.
Lasid lavai in the second kufa.
He's just explaining. But that's a contradiction to Halochos, shainן bטלים לעולם. That's the question we have now. All right, that's clear the order. So get up right away. We see it right from the Gemara. They'll have mitzvahs in that first kufa. But the opinions that hold mitzvahs b'telis, they're talking about the second era. But that contradicts what we're saying now, that halochos Torah שבעל peh that are forever like chamisha Torah. That's our question now. V'yesh lahaktiv, now it gets to the essence of the answer. Layers upon layers. V'yesh lahaktiv tchila b'ira'inyin the mitzvahs b'telis lasid lovai. We have to understand, what does this mean? Mitzvahs become nullified. The l'chayra is a bestirel and nitzches, in other words, aside from the contradiction to the quote, stirred between one source and another, the inyan. The l'chayra is a bestirel and nitzches, it contradicts the whole notion of the eternity of Torah. According to Rambam Shedova Borer Mefurish b'Torah, it's explicit in Torah, she mitzvah a medes, it is a mitzvah, a communication, a commandment from the Eibishter that a medes la'olam, ula'ol me'lamim, as I couldn't get stronger words, forever and forever and forever. Shekol divrei Torah mitzuvim non masaysim ad olam. It doesn't have the end of the quote. The end of the quote is missing. After the two dots should be in the quote. That's where the quote ends. And the Rabbi is saying that all of Torah were commanded to do forever. So, what's this notion of mitzvahs being nullified? You might want to say, the mitzvah you might want to answer, what does it mean that they're nullified? It's not a contradiction to the eternity of Torah. Why? When we say Torah is eternal, in brackets, I'm quoting the Rambam, that everything in Torah we're commanded to do forever. To begin with, in Torah commanded it. They commanded it for this only limited time. Today, before Lasid Lavei. The Torah was not talking about the tomorrow to get reward. After we've done all the mitzvahs and we get the reward, so the forever is a qualified forever. The forever is till the time for reward. And when the reward comes, you no longer have to do it. Bepashtas, you did the job, now you get rewarded. You might want to answer, that's what it means. Clear? But he rejects that. Avol B is a inner maspik. But this explanation is not satisfactory. And he adds in 28, and when is that reward? In the era of the revival, that's the main schar, more than the schar by Moishe Mashiach. By Moishe Mashiach, it's still not the complete schar. We'll still do mitzvahs then, as you said before. That's clear. No one disputes that. But by Matchia, there are no more mitzvahs, and because that's the reward period. So the forever means the forever for the time that we have to observe it. That's what forever means. But this is not satisfactory. Because what's the reason for the eternity? Mitzvahs given to Moshe at Sinai shall never be exchanged. Quote, mitzvah medes la'olam, all these quotations from the Rambam. What's the reason they're eternal? Did the Eibishter's will, 30, out of 30, Rotzen Atzmi, it's an essential will, Shekol Atzmosei Kevayochles from Samachvav, his entire essence as it were, but Rotzen Zeh is in this will. Lefi Noise HaAtzmos, Noise means literally born by Atzmos, by the Eibishter himself, carried. Born as in B-O-R-N-E. So mitzvahs are expression of the will of God, the Eibishter himself. Now, just like the Eibishter doesn't exist for any reason, Chas v'shalom, obviously, if there is, worship the reason, forget him. So to his will. Back in the text, the mitzvahs ein the bishvil matar b'tachlis acheres. The pnimius of the rotzen of mitzvahs is not for any other agenda. The vadro lezachas ha'olam, to refine, elevate the world, as Adam the person, V'olam in the world, She'iyah b'shleim, they should be perfect. That's the external dimension. If that's all it was, then you could say they've run their course, they've done their job, that's the relative forever, and now there's a new era. Then you could say, then you could say, that's what mitzvahs were to begin with, an agenda as opposed to an essential will, which we will explain in a minute. So then you could say, when the person in the world had become elevated, to a higher level, then you could say it's mitzvahs. I need other mitzvahs. So we're going now from, he's saying, from Hillel to Shammai, or perfect it even further. Mitzvahs kalal. Don't need mitzvahs at all. Then you could argue that there's a change. We go from Hillel to Shammai, and then no mitzvahs at all. However, it's not so. They're essential. And that's the reason why there's no change, and they cannot be detracted from a yisaf or anything added to. So what is he saying? He's saying that mitzvahs are the expression of the Eibish's essential will. Just like he exists because he exists, he wants because he wants. Now this Ratzon Atzmi is enclosed in, as it comes to Rishtalshalos, all kinds of agendas and reasons, but that's the packaging. Divine packaging, to be sure, by his design, his packaging for his will. But that's the external dimension. So for example...
is an external dimension. Is an external dimension of it. I'm saying it's not even the end.
No. He's saying Dira B'tachtonim is, in the end, it's not. There's no reason for Dira B'tachtonim. It's just because he wants. He's saying there's no reason for why I have a Dira B'tachtonim. So I want a Dira B'tachtonim. But you're right, as we're going to say, even that's a means, because the end, the purpose of it is the relationship with us. Okay, let's hold off till the end as he develops this. I want to explain something. There are explicit quotations that say, famous medrash, mitzvahs were given for no other purpose other than to refine the creatures. Clear agenda. Pirkei Avos. This whole world is an Rabbi Yaakov. Prepare yourself in the antechamber to enter into the palace. You do the mitzvahs in order to get the reward. There's an agenda. So this explains that that's the external dimension. And the answer there will become much clearer at the end, at the Sikha. But so far it's already, he's positing this fact that that's the external dimension. The essence of the mitzvah is beyond agenda, and Ratzon Atzmin is there for forever. Just like God is, His will is. That isn't about achieving an end goal. Once done, the will is no longer is being fulfilled, satisfied. We don't need that anymore. It isn't about, in simple language, it isn't simply about perfecting the world. Even when the world is perfect, we'll continue to do mitzvahs because it's His essential will. Clear? So, beginning his explanation, why Halochos mitzvahs is forever, but then we still have to answer the opinion, mitzvahs b'telis lased lavai, that you can bury someone in tachricha. All to be explained. But continuing now, in the square brackets, mitzvahs ha-Torah letzivim shalei ha-Neviim, and this is the difference between commandments in Torah and the Neviim, the commandments that they gave. The commandments that the Nevi'im instructed the Yidden at the particular junctures in history were all, to begin with, an agenda laden. Certainly when they said things that were not commandments one way or another, or go here or go there. He's talking about find what you lost, or whatever the case may be. It's not a mitzvah thing, that's for sure an objective. to achieve the end result. Even when they, I'm not sure an example for this, maybe someone can find one. But even when they commanded something with respect to Torah, the intent there is not this commandment per se, but the goal, an agenda. Their whole mission, their mandate is to command with respect to, be obedient to the words of Torah, and to warn the people not to transgress. All of the commandments are only temporary. There must be a lot of examples. I might just think of Eliyahu Karmel, but that's not a good example, because that's suspending halacha actually. There are nevuos that were for 34. There were nevuos that the prophets gave for generations, written in Nevi'im, but they will no longer be when Mashiach comes, because they're all agenda laden. They don't express the Ratzon Atzmi of the Eibishter. It's in order for the will to be fulfilled. You guys have challenges, so we're going to tell you how to get there. So their mitzvahs are in order to get to the Eibishter's mitzvahs. That's forever, because their mitzvahs have this clear agenda to be faithful to observance, but the mitzvahs, the observance themselves, are beyond agenda. Again, the examples of their mitzvahs must be many. Maybe someone will find out.
We're talking about something that. We're talking about something that's in halacha.
It doesn't end up being a halacha in Shulchan Aruch. No.
It's not something in Halochos Shabbos. Like something.
You're saying like the Nevi'im or Misakin, candle lighting, kabbat v'oinik.
Well, David doesn't that come? That's from.
I don't think he means that.
It just means just to stam in the nevuah.
Yeah, so if that's what he means.
The nevuah itself was just for that time. Everybody knows it.
But he's talking not just nevuah, it's tzivuyim. So what tzivuyim is he talking about? Not just prophecies of doom or reward or whatever, but he's right tzivuyim. You also, again, the Nevi'im or Misakin, thinking of Adlakas Haneris, but they're in the Rambam Halochos Torah Seba'al Peh. And moreover, the Torah says you have to listen to the Chachamim, the Nevi'im. So it gets the, which is why we say Shekad Ishon B'mitzvahs V'tzivon. Doesn't mean that l'chayr.
For example, when there's Hanukkah, also won't be Mevatel, right?
So that's the shah. I was thinking also, Neres Hanukkah be in this battle.
Won't be.
So it could be.
Seder Atfila.
Huh?
The Seder Atfila also.
Yeah, the Seder Atfila. For sure, I mean, all those requests, I mean, Pashtas. Most of Shemon Esrei is asking for heal the sick and bring Mashiach, it's all done.
Well,
for sure that's, yes, maybe that's what it means, the davening. In davening, the shah is about Shabbos, I don't know. It's about davening, l'chayru, yeah? And so you Neres Hanukkah. No, Neres Hanukkah is beferish, it's also l'olam. It says beferish is l'olam. That was the comfort to Aaron, but that could be l'olam means only in Zman HaGolus even. Okay, tzorichin a little bit. Will we look, I think, I'm pretty sure we will be Mekayim, observe Chanukah even Lasad Lavai.
The whole premise over here, what does it mean? Does it mean just to cook?
Okay, tzorichin. Okay, we'll stop here, because it's already late.